okay? But here's an idea, okay? Let's talk about colonization, okay? And let's compare it to the Europeans going over to America, okay? And I'm just going to call like America as in the continent, okay? So, back in the day, right, we're in the 1500s, and you have, there's a debate about whether the Europeans actually were aiming for India, or whether they actually knew where they were going directly across the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just pretend like they knew exactly where they were going, okay? So they built a bunch of boats, and they're like, okay, let's go and see what's across the ocean. And this was pretty much like a suicide mission, because you didn't really know if anything was there in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
But you reach the other side, and you do find that there's a continent there, a whole another world essentially, and you decide to colonize it. So what does it mean to colonize it, right? First, you send over a couple of people, and you form a colony, and you try to reproduce, and you try to make your own copy of the civilization that you had back in your homeland, right? The thing that separated Europe and America in the day was the ocean, which, let's pretend, is like a two-dimensional space,
Mm-hmm.
right? And even if we take into consideration the curvature of the Earth, you can still say that you remain at all times on the surface of this two-dimensional surface of the ball. So there's only one way to get there, right? Mm-hmm. You have to get on a boat and travel across on this two-dimensional surface, right? And obviously, the more people you send over from Europe to America, the easier it becomes, right? Because you have more people, more tasks can be done, the more you can reproduce and just build a bigger community and thrive, right? Mm-hmm. Now, let's fast forward to our day right now, before even having sent humans to Mars, right? So in this case, it's different, right? Because the thing that's separating the Earth and Mars is three-dimensional, mm-hmm. which means that if the fastest way to get there, comparing to the Europeans, their fastest way was just a straight line on a two-dimensional
seemingly
surface.
Straight line, because
seemingly
on a
straight
curved
line.
surface. Yes.
Seemingly straight line, right? You put the boat down and you go. Mm-hmm. In our case, the fastest way is to, let's not take into consideration the slingshot of the moon or other possible ways that we can actually get to Mars. But, from the Earth system, it's just a straight line directly intercepting the orbit of Mars, right? But here's where it becomes interesting, and here's where maybe a door can be opened into a new part of physics and engineering, okay? Today, 500 years after we colonized America, not we, but the humans,
we colonized America.
Humans colonized America. There is now a new way to go across the ocean, right? You don't have to be stuck to this two-dimensional plane. You can actually access the third dimension through airplanes.
Okay.
And, how much safer, faster, and cost-efficient, I guess, it is to take a plane rather than taking a boat, right?
I mean, I don't think so. Because like cargo and stuff, like cargo planes, I believe, are a lot more expensive than just putting cargo on ships.
Okay, but I'm talking about like if you were to go across the ocean in like a small plane, like just a passenger plane.
Okay, I guess that wouldn't be. But you're comparing a small passenger plane to a ship now. Like if you're comparing a small passenger plane to a small boat, the boat's going to be cheaper. If you're comparing a plane to a ship, the ship's going to be cheaper. So it's not cheaper, but I understand your point.
Okay, let's not say cheaper dollar-wise, but I'm saying cheaper in terms of saving time, your own time,
that's
saving food, saving, potential dangers of the ocean, right? Instead of just flying right over it, right? So let's take this analogy, right, of the two-dimensional travel between continents versus our modern way of accessing a third dimension and going, like, back in the 1500s, as we discussed earlier on the podcast, people weren't even thinking about airplanes, right? The only thing that was flying were birds. That's it. People like Leonardo da Vinci were trying to build like these weird like wooden helicopters, but nothing worked, and everyone thought it was impossible until the hot air balloon. But no one thought that like a bird-like machine, like an airplane, was possible until the 20th century. So now let's fast forward, let's say 100 years, where sending a rocket to Mars seems like a primitive way to go to Mars. What if the modern way in the future, the modern way to get to Mars, will be accessing the higher dimension of travel?
Now, see, that is
just
where...
like, but hold on. Just like humans in the past, they genuinely thought that flying was impossible. Accessing that third dimension was genuinely impossible. The only way to do it was to go on a boat.
That is where you can't really say that, because I think, again, first of all, people probably didn't even know about true like 2-3 dimensional things and like what the differences were. But let's say they did, then we are still 3-dimensional beings. So going on a 1-dimensional straight line, obviously that's impossible, but I'm just trying to give the example. 1-dimensional absolute straight line, or 2-dimensional plane, or a 3-dimensional, we can do all of that because we are 3-dimensional. To say that we access the 4th dimension to go on Mars, because see,
that's where you're wrong.
Because you are thinking like, just because we didn't know that there were 3 dimensions back then, we are certain.
We knew.
Okay, sorry, we did know, but
we didn't
also
even comprehend that it was possible.
Yes, but we know for a fact that we cannot perceive the 4th dimension. That is something that we cannot do. So when you say 3-dimensional beings are using 3-dimensional ways of traveling, it makes sense, because that's the highest possible they can go. So when they were on 2, they're like, oh crap, I don't know if we can do 3. But the thing is, we are 3-dimensional characters. So going to that 3rd dimension might be hard, but it's something inevitable because we can do it. But going to a higher dimension, like the 4th dimension, is something that at least till today's technology, like we don't.
You're not foreseeing right now.
So you're saying we will be able to access the 4th dimension?
Okay, but here,
this idea.
Listen to this idea right here.
And how would that help?
But listen to this, okay? If we can go from planes to spaceships in under 100 years, okay? You're telling me that are you really telling me that
you're talking about dimensions here, man?
Listen to what I'm saying right now.
Okay.
You're telling me that we have found the most efficient way to travel.
Not farthest from what I'm saying.
Exactly.
I'm just saying 4-dimensional travel is not going to happen, though.
Ray,
it's not going to be the 4th dimension.
Don't call it 4-dimensional travel. Don't call it that. Call it whatever you want to call it. Here's what I'm saying. I'm saying there will be some like weird technology that we cannot even think of right now.
Okay. If you're just talking about some advancing technology, I 100% agree with you.
No, but here's the thing. In terms of 4 dimensions, I'm not talking about 4 spatial dimensions.
Because that is what I thought you were saying.
I'm talking about the 3+1 dimension.
Oh, you're really going to pull that on me. That is not what I thought this entire time. I thought you were talking about 4-dimensional travel.
No, here's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about some type of craft that can utilize the space-time 3+1 dimensions that we live in, and it's going to be a technology that can bend space-time in order to create like your own gravitational personal field that can travel insanely quick, insanely.
Yeah, I mean, see, that I agree with. I definitely seeing something like that happening, because that is truly a breakthrough that obviously would. It's not like it's going to happen tomorrow, but it's truly something that would advance travel, interstellar travel forever.